But, like, you know... Oh... Hey, what's up there? Okay, so I'm lying in bed this morning. I'm lying in bed. I'm on my phone, and this is something that happens quite a lot. I'm struck with opinion. I get all opinioned. You know what I mean? So I ran in here, and now I'm opinioning at you. And this all really started because, well, I mean, it's a general discussion that's been kind of going around, but it kind of came to a head because I was reading this Nintendo Life article. And I made like kind of a Twitter thread about it, and I'm not really trying to like stir stuff up. Basically, Nintendo Life, they published an article kind of defending Balan Wonderworld, and ooh, spicy topic, I know. Hot potato here. And like that's fine in itself, and like I even talked about in the thread, and it's like I think it is awesome to have different opinions that go against the grain and to kind of, you know, try to appreciate something that a lot of people dislike. I think that's really great. I think this article was not a good example of that. I feel like it just spends too much time instead trying to say people who don't like it are wrong, you know, the whole bandwagoning thing. It's a whole thing, and I don't want to go too far into it right now, but my whole thing is like, just have your opinion. You don't communicate your opinion by shooting down other opinions, you know? Like, don't say criticisms are invalid. Here's why it's actually good. It's just, it's silly. It's not the right way to be. Being kind of antagonistic about it. It does not make for healthy discourse. But that's not even the whole point I'm trying to make. You know, Nintendo Life can write whatever they want. Really, I'm just trying to focus on the main thesis of the article. And like I said, something that a lot of people have been talking about recently. And it's the idea, the thesis that Balan Wonderworld was not bad enough to be featured on, like, worst game of the year list, you know, especially not the absolute worst game of the year. The whole idea is like, there were worse games out there. There were way worse games. It's not fair to say, you know, because at least it's playable and some people like it and all that stuff. And I get that, and it is unfortunate that so often these kinds of discussions are paired with the whole claims of bandwagoning and hating and all that stuff, and it's a thing. But I do want to look at that idea. Like, does Balan Wonderworld deserve to be called the worst game of 2021? And before we get started, you know, full disclosure, I do not like Balan Wonderworld. I played through the demo, and I personally hated it. I thought it was awful, really abysmally bad in like almost every way that a game can possibly be. It felt bad to control. The mechanics were bad. It was really slow and sluggish, and the design wasn't even, just everything about it was just awful. And of course it didn't run very well. I've heard plenty of people say, oh, that's just the Switch version. And indeed that article does say like, that's mostly the Switch version. Other versions are better or whatever. Okay. Like I get that, you know, maybe it is a technically like a competently put together game in terms of like graphics and performance on other systems. I don't know, because they removed the demo. I just realized, I tried to play it again before I did this, but they removed the demo everywhere. They didn't want people playing the demo, I guess. I wonder why. But basically, yeah, didn't like it. And no, I'm not a bandwagoner. I'm not nitpicking here. It was just a truly horrible experience from top to bottom. That's my opinion. Again, it's cool if someone likes it. Like, that's great. We could just have our own opinions, sure. I've had some people be like, well, you just played the demo. You didn't even get the full experience. It's like, yeah, that's not... If I give you a casserole and you take one bite and it's so bad that you have to spit it out, I'm not gonna be like, whoa, though. You didn't eat the whole thing. You gotta take every bite of the casserole before you can tell me that it's bad. Like, it's not how it works. You know, after the demo, do the mechanics change? Do the controls change? Does everything about it change after the demo? I doubt it. So here's the thing. I think that it is perfectly acceptable to put Balan Wonderworld even at the very top of a list of the worst games of 2021. And that is not just because I dislike it. I don't harbor any vitriol for the game. I don't have like an agenda against it or anything. It really doesn't really come down to like personally what I feel. I think the main issue is that a lot of people are forgetting what these kinds of lists are even for. Just look at the Razzies, the Golden Raspberry Awards. They've been doing this forever. It's basically a funny mock award show for bad movies, okay? So like, that's the whole point. And the Razzies aren't looking for the actual, just objectively worst movies to make fun of. They're looking at the actual, like, Hollywood industry, you know, that they're not looking at little film school projects and, you know, little no-budget indie nothings that turn out to be bad. Like, they're not really looking at that kind of stuff. Maybe sometimes, but for the most part, they're looking at, like, no, what is Hollywood putting out? Like, famous actors, big notable producers, you know, big movie studios working with big properties and just all that stuff. Actual big budget projects that still just end up being bad. Because that is the more entertaining thing to look at. Like, of course, there were worse movies out there than the ones that won the Golden Raspberry Awards. That's not the point. A purely bad movie from somebody who nobody knows and it has no real tangible value to it or anything, like, that's not interesting. It's kind of, that's a given. Like, I want to see the movies that, like, big, giant, super millionaire actors were in, doing bad jobs in, with bad writing. That's the fun. Whether or not Balan Wonderworld is a bad game is ultimately subjective. You know, it just is. If you think it's a great game, you have a bunch of reasons for it being a great game. Fine, that's cool. But its failure, like its overall financial failure and its very broad critical panning, despite coming from, like, a big studio and a big name and a really great pedigree, that's not subjective. That failure is completely objective. Square Enix, Yuji Naka, creator of Sonic, and it had so much money and so much hope behind it, and for it to just sell so poorly and to be hated by so many people, that right there is an objective failure. It is a very big failed project. And I won't, bandwagoning arguments, it's a complete cop-out. It's a complete cop-out. You know, you like something, most people hate it. Like, fine, tell us why you like it. But saying, like, oh, everybody was just having the hate bandwagon. Like, again, I don't do bandwagons. I don't care about bandwagons. I don't care what other people think. I play a game. I just hated it. There's probably a lot of people who just legitimately hated it. You can't just, group them all into the bandwagoning haters, and that just completely destroys all of their criticism. Like, no, that's not how it works. Balan Wonderworld is obviously not the worst game of 2021. You know, like, if you take every single game published by anybody, of course it's not. It doesn't even come close to being the worst game. But if we really consider every game everywhere, then every single worst game list would just be a bunch of cheap, broken asset flips on Steam. Like, that wouldn't be fun. That wouldn't be entertaining at all. A list is supposed to be something that you read or watch to be entertained by. Like actual broken garbage that people didn't even make. They just flipped a bunch of assets and pre-built games from Unity and, like, posted them. Like, yeah, those would just fill up all the awards, and we'd just be like, great, What are you trying to say here? We're looking at notable failures. We're looking at really big failures and bad games that made a splash, that left a mark. And it's also what people played. That's another thing that so many people are forgetting. Like, no worst games of the year list or best games of the year list is definitive. Like, none of them are complete, objective, across the board, definitive lists of the best and worst games. No, it just comes down to the authors of the articles, the creators of the videos. It literally just comes down to what they played. They probably didn't play those thousands and thousands of broken, buggy asset flips that were released on Steam, because why would anyone do that? Here's an example. Jim Stephanie Sterling always does, like, worst game of the year lists. Sometimes the games are big AAA flops or big greedy cash grabs. Sometimes the games are just hilariously terrible games that they just played. It's any random thing that came across. They're not hunting down every terrible game in the entire industry to, like, out them. That's not how this works. And that's really, like, the main thing to take away here. There are plenty of worst game of the year lists with AAA games on them. Plenty. They're all over the place. There are so many reasons to say that a game is bad, or that, you know, it was a particularly large disappointment. It's not just about being bad, it's about the pedigree. It's about the level of disappointment and how many people played it. Last year, Cyberpunk 2077, I wouldn't fault anybody for putting that as the #1 worst game of 2020, because it's not just about the game. Yeah, sure, plenty of people had fun with the game, but it's everything surrounding the game. It's the employee abuse, it's the lies, it's just the, you know, the completely misleading marketing surrounding it, and the broken, buggy mess that was so bad, platform holders were having to give refunds on behalf of the developers. Like, that's a bad game right there. Even if it's not the worst game at the end of the day, when you look at it all as a whole, that's still terrible. That completely deserves to be on the top of the list. And if it's okay for Cyberpunk 2077 to be considered the worst game of the year by someone, somewhere, then yeah, Balan Wonderworld deserves it too. To have a big name and a big publisher and all this money and everything behind it, and to still turn out like the way Balan Wonderworld did, it absolutely deserves it. I mean, what else can I say? I didn't play the whole game, so I'm not going to be putting it on any of my lists, but, you know, based on the demo, if I did, it would have made the list, because we're talking about what I played. And last year, that demo probably was the worst thing that I played. I try to only play games that I think are good. I guess what I'm really trying to say with this video is there should be no limits to our hate. to our hatred of video games. Break the boundaries. Think outside the box. Be free with your snarkiness and cynicism. You deserve it. Be free with your hatred of video games. Everyone's hate is valid. We just need a little bit more hate in this year. Hashtag more hate 2022. Who's with me? That's not get that. That's not true. That's not true. So there you have it. If you love Balan Wonderworld, I respect that. And if you hate Balan Wonderworld with every fiber of your being and you think it should be on the top of the list of worst games of the decade, I also respect that. Well, thank you for watching, and oh hey, first video of the year. First video of 2022. We gotta celebrate. What's the thing? I need a hat to throw. Where's a hat I can throw? Happy New Year!